What's up, Jim?
Hi, Jim Sigler, the Alpha Dawg, and we got a tremendous show for you today. Wikimotive.
In the house.
The bad boys from Wikimotive are back, and they're local SEO. Get out of here.
That again.
What a surprise.
Oh, Zach Billings, how you doing?
Good. How's it going, Jim?
I'm having the best day, and of course, Angus Fox, there he is.
Hello, old friend. How are you?
Hey, what do we got to talk about today, guys?
Local SEO, among other things. Time and time again, we keep on talking to dealers who, you Google yourself Ford dealer or used cars.
Coffee shop blog, man. Yeah, okay. And
it looks great in your showroom, but what happens when you get 5 miles away? What happens when you're in between you and your competitor? No one does that, right? And everyone's talking about local SEO. I know it's
I'm gonna be in the map pack. I'm gonna be in the map pack.
Did you know 60% of clicks on organic are from the results not in the map pack? So it's great to be in the map pack, but what about the rest?
My dealership spent all that money to get in the map pack, and now you're what?
And you could have done it for almost free. There's a lot of places you can own right now, through organic, right? You can own the info panel. You can be on the map pack. Each domain can have up to 2 placements. So why wouldn't you want to own every single one of those positions for all your terms?
Well, Wikimotive, one of the foremost SEO companies in the world.
Thank you.
Now, tell me about your results. Tell me why this is important.
Well, so you imagine you've got 5,000 people that search for whatever your brand is, dealers, a Ford dealer near me in a month. Well, if you just show up in the map pack, you get maybe 5% of that 5,000 that come to your website. You get an opportunity to sell or service a car. Well, what if you could get 10%? What if you could get 20? What if you could get 30% of that 5,000? Getting more ranks and getting them further from your store is how you do that. And when we're heading into a recession, the size of the pie is shrinking down. You need a bigger slice of it if you're going to be able to keep up profitability, especially as OEMs are giving us a hard time about.
You're saying don't constrain to a limited area?
Not only don't constrain to a limited area, but stop thinking that just because when you search for that on your phone in the store, that same result extends even a few miles away from your store. It almost never does. Each time we check this for dealers, and there's free tools out there to do this with, you can search at different spots around your market, and you're going to find that your competition shows up like crazy, and you might not just a few miles away.
Well, what do you do to cure that?
Write good content. Write a lot of good content. You certainly, what everyone says about showing up in the map pack and the 3-pack, that's right too. You want to show up there. There's a lot you can do with your Google listing, Google My Business.
But
Google,
you just told me 60% of clicks are not in the map pack.
Clicked right.
30%
click just the first position below that. 15% click the one below that. 10 the one below that. There's tons of market share that you can pick up by moving higher in those results down below the map pack. But everyone seems to have forgotten about those because when you search for your store and you show up right in that map pack, that feels good. But the results that you can gain incrementally are done by putting better content.
Limited inventory has caused a lot of people to take their eye off the ball.
Yes. And so
has increased profitability.
Yes, cosmic level grosses have done the same thing. It's a little bit of an issue of how.
Oh, say that again. Cosmic level grosses. Okay.
Well, I mean,
Angus Fox, ladies and gentlemen.
We've been doing okay the last 3 years, right? I saw that used car prices outpaced the stock market in 2020, 2021, 2022. It's not a bad club to be in. That ride may or may not continue. We'll see, especially with the fun games they're playing with new cars. The issue that Zach is referring to partially is a function of how the SEO industry itself functions, right? If we were going to present results to you and you're in a dealership, how do you check them? Usually you're at your computer at the sales desk. You're already probably half working a deal. You're barely able to pay attention.
Okay, so you're checking your results inside your own dealership
Right, and that's how you're validating.
That's not the results people from 5 miles away are getting, not the same.
Right.
Not the same.
We hope that
even
if
I can understand that.
Right. If our customers are in our parking lot, they should hopefully be able to find the building. If not, we've got other problems. But it really matters how far down the road they go. And it also has to do with how are they presenting, how they're ranking locally to you. There's ways that you can show ranking on a map that may make sense. There's also, you can check. The easy way to check and the free way to check is also a difficult way to check. That's anecdotally, right? You can get on your cell phone, and not that anyone ever gets to lunch. Maybe you have your service driver while he's out go and Google those things and take screenshots for you. Or there's also some tools that we have access to. You can have access to that make this.
Call your husband or wife at home. Hey, check our. Yeah, there you go.
That's a very good start.
That is one way to do it,
for sure. Yeah. But that'll let you know if you start to see a problem. You want to make sure, I don't want to just rank for Ford dealers in my driveway, in my lane, or in my parking lot, or even down the street. I want to scan for those terms, and I particularly terms that I know are going to lead to transactions. And that's it's easy to represent a lot of local traffic and to look like there's a lot of people who are reaching you locally, but there's a lot of local bots. There's a lot of local traffic that may not necessarily ever lead to a conversion. One of the things Zach mentioned earlier is like we always or often over half our clients come from another SEO company that wasn't performing. And when we look at their stuff, we see a lot of stuff like, coffee shops, best coffee shops in wherever, Charlotte. Well, unless you have one of the best coffee shops in your service drive, which you probably don't, I've had most of your coffee, you don't necessarily want to rank for those terms. It's such a crazy thing. How would you feel if your pay-per-click provider came up to you and said, hey, I want to bid on the term coffee shops near me? I don't know what we're doing. So, there seems to be a fundamental disconnect. All local traffic is not created equal. We do want local traffic, but we also want converting traffic. So we need local traffic that converts. And you're probably not going to see that if it's best park. There can be some things if you're sponsoring a peach picking contest, and you may want to rank for that, and that may be a great thing. There are some ways to do that. But this blanket, I want to rank for other local terms. Google isn't that dumb anymore, and they may show that for terms, but if you actually ask your SEO provider, hey, can you show me, I noticed you guys wrote, best delis near me. Can you show me what that traffic did when it got to my website? Can we look at conversion? Can we look at goals? Because if I'm not a deli, I don't generate.
How many New York steamer sandwiches did that generate?
Exactly. So, it's, the industry still has some issues with how we present data. And that's one of the things that we try to do differently. Wikimotive is vendor centric. We will never be on an OEM list because we serve one master. We work for the dealer only. You never have to wonder, are these guys going to worry about, making Ford upset? Because that's not how we work. Our goal is to get our dealers ranking for all the terms that they need to rank for that result in conversions, that lead to growth.
Angus, let me ask you a question. What are dealers advertising now? What is the SEO generating?
What are they advertising? What should they be advertising?
What traffic are we generating? Are we still selling cars? Are we gathering up new inventory, additional inventory, buy from the public? Are we recruiting technicians? What are we doing?
It obviously depends on the dealership's specific circumstances, but overall, new cars right now are kind of a tricky business for me, right? Look at, what Ford is telling us and what these manufacturers are doing this extensively. All of a sudden,
built to order, quit it.
Right. Sell direct and all those things. These people keep telling us over and over, hey, I'm coming to cut your throat. At some point, we need to believe them and stop trying to focus necessarily on those things. There's a lot of really good used car SEO terms that you could rank for. There's a lot of really good service terms. Hiring is another one that you've touched on in a lot of different areas. And there's a really good SEO place for that too. have asked us to take down their ads because they have too many people responding to,
Wait a second. Wikimotive has overproduced to the point that dealers are saying, take down my ads, you've overproduced.
Mm-hmm.
Zach,
for job ads and stuff like that. Yeah.
Zach, is he telling the truth?
It's true. It's absolutely true. Like he was saying, for job ads, especially where, someone's doing a hiring campaign looking for text, which can be a big issue right now. We've helped with that. That's not usually the play that we're talking about, where we're trying to focus on, selling more used cars. We're trying to get more people in for service, but we help with everything. If we're saying, hey, we can't get enough techs who want to work right now, we've helped with hiring campaigns. And sometimes it's more effective than someone had in mind, but you'd rather be too effective than not effective enough. And to your question, I think, Jim, used cars and service are the primary plays at the moment. It certainly varies from dealer to dealer.
The service department is going to inherit the industry. Cars have been on the road for 12 years. That statistic, they last longer. We're keeping them running longer. I was in a limousine recently. It was a Lincoln Town Car, and it had over 700,000 miles on it.
Wow.
If you maintain these things, they'll just keep on running. So now service is getting bigger than ever.
And when someone searches, Lincoln service or Ford service, who shows up? Is it Jiffy Lube or is it your store? And if you've not done anything to try to show up, most likely it's not your store. And it's very difficult to necessarily get in the map pack, in the 3-pack outside of, a tight radius around your store. So how are you showing up a few miles away rather than the independent shops when someone's searching oil change near me or Ford service or whatever?
I've got a dealer principal watching this broadcast right now. And, 20 years and a lot of dealer principals, excuse me, you don't know where the on switch on your computer is. You're basically counting on your people to advise you. But a couple of years ago, we could just get a couple of really good trick words and we had SEO.
Yeah.
What do you guys actually do?
Yeah, so I started out doing SEO as a practitioner. Angus did too. And, back in 2009, when I was writing SEO content.
There you go, 2009, man. Find out what words people were hitting on. What are the great search words? Buy the good search words. Pay a penny more than your competition. And you own that word.
Yeah, back then it was at my Nissan store that I was working at. It was you write a page and you just put Nissan dealer Boston, Nissan dealer Marlboro, Nissan dealer, and you just spam a bunch of stuff onto a page and boom, you rank. Today, that's not the case. You need to write high quality, robust content. And it's not.
Where do you put that content?
What's that?
Where do you put that content?
Well,
you better be on your website.
You put it on your website. You put it on your navigational pages. So first of all, let's go back to service. Well, how do you get your service page to show up for Ford service if you're a Ford dealer? Well, start by going to your service page and rewriting it. Don't have the website vendor's content just sitting on there. That's the same thing that every other dealer has. Don't have OEM content. I see it with Toyota dealers and Honda dealers where it's just the OEM's content dropped onto that page. Go rewrite it for your consumers. Whether you're a GM, a dealer principal, or you're a marketing director, you should have a decent pulse on who is your consumer base and what are your store's value propositions. What makes your store unique? Just write about that on your.
So don't just cut and paste what the manufacturer publishes, but rewrite it completely, where it isn't the same cut and paste that everybody else is using.
Exactly. So that's step one. Rewrite your navigational content for your consumers. Rewrite it well. Rewrite it with your own voice. Then you got to take it a step further. You need to have some landing pages in the back end of your site. You need to have some blog articles that support that. Not coffee shops near me, but
okay. Let's dumb it down a bit. What is a landing page?
So a landing page is just a page on your site. It doesn't have to be in the navigation on the top, but it lives on your site in the sitemap. And what it is you just write a page for a specific purpose. And when we say landing page, the idea is it's where people land when they get to your website. They see that.
And it navigates off of that page, but they can't get back to it.
In theory, yeah, they can hit the back button. But the idea is you land them on the page for oil change near me. And then the call to action goes to schedule service where they can make an appointment.
Okay, now we're getting where I want to be. Now we're getting where the audience is. David Blasingame just said, "I need a copy of this." David, I'll send you one. I know the man. Okay.
Yes, it needs to be content that's focused. Now, oil change near me, very clear. We know what we want the conversion to be, right? Somebody probably wants an oil change, so we want to put them in touch with our service department. So we're going to have our click to call for our service, so that way if they show up on a phone, they can click and get in touch with them right away. We're going to make sure our chat's on there. We're going to make sure that we have a way for them to submit, probably a link to our scheduled service, all that kind of fun stuff. There's other things that.
Well, wait a minute. Most dealers don't even have a service page on their website.
Yes, well, every Wikimotive dealer does, but I mean, in this day and age, you'd be crazy not to, right? Even if you only have a scheduled service page, you shouldn't do that. But as an immediate fix, and be very careful, because I'm sure you probably have something like X time iframed in there, but you can go underneath there, and even there you can write content that will help give Google context. And there's some certain things that you need to do when you discuss this, when we're talking about writing content. Zach will go into a few more details in a minute about what those are. But there's such a thing as good content, bad content, no surprise there. But Google tends to reward things. We were talking earlier about keywords. Keywords are dead, really, right? Now, people still search through keywords, but Google now does topic indexing. It understands that it's not just a bunch of
complete
words.
Sentences.
More than that. It knows what an F-150 is. It knows it's a truck. It knows it's made by Ford. It knows that they're serviced at car dealers. It knows that they're sold from car dealers. It understands what the entity of that is. Google understands what a car dealership is. It understands that it has opening hours and has closing hours, and it's got a website and it's got this and that. Google is well beyond just plain surface level understanding of things, and is actually, has an entity database that shows how not only what all the metadata it knows about each one of these entities, but how they relate to each other. So when you're writing content now, you're not writing for a keyword. You're trying to write so Google understands, hey, these people are well informed about this topic, and they answer a lot of questions that people may commonly have around this topic, or they cover a lot of the topics that Google typically associates with that. They even tell us and show us what that is, right? You see that people
frequently asked questions.
Right. And you can make a frequently asked question on your website so if you search something, Ford dealer near me, and you might scroll down and you might see people also ask, what is the best, what is the Ford Maverick? All those other questions.
And Google will even tell you what people frequently ask.
As much data as they like to hoard and take away from us, like the horrible tech dragons they are, they still have to give us some. Now it's mostly public facing, and we have to infer its meaning from there. But you can go, people also ask. You can also go down to the bottom and look at related searches. That's showing you this is what Google understands about this topic, and this is what Google understands is adjacent to or related to this topic. And these are the things that I want to make sure I present as an expert to Google on.
Now, something to add to this is, right, this is a bunch of great information in concept, right? You can use people also ask to write all kinds of great information. What does it do for me at the end of the day? I think a lot gets lost when we talk about SEO in terms of getting into all this minutia, all the strategies, the techniques, and it sounds way too daunting, and the output is difficult to understand, to quantify, right? At the end of the day, all we're trying to do is use that people also ask information that Angus is talking about. Write better content on your website, whether it's the pages in your navigation or whether it's landing pages. And the result that we all actually care about is that.
How do you measure results? I mean, everybody says they've got results. I mean, come on. I know some companies that have crappy results that claim to have good results. How do you measure real results?
Well, ultimately, real results should be measured in leads and appointments that turn into CPROs and sold vehicles.
How do you document that? I mean, you're talking about it.
So the leads and appointments, that's fairly simple in real practice at the end of the day. It's leads come from events that we can measure in data. It's not very sexy how we get there, but it's also not particularly difficult. If a person comes in from organic because we ranked better and they go to X time and they engage with.
We're talking about free SEO. We're not talking about pay-per-click right now, right?
Nope, we're talking about the organic stuff. This is showing up. It's either doing it internally or it's paying an expert vendor to do the work once, and you continue to reap the benefit ongoing. This is a fundamental thing that we have to understand, especially in this market going into a recession. If you want to get a bigger slice of the pie without continuing to fork over more and more and more money to Google and to vendors, you need to be able to figure out a way to have a static investment that continues to grow your slice of that pie. The only way to do that is pay to put quality content on your website, whether it's paying one of your own guys at your store, or whether it's paying someone like us. You need quality content written on your site, and that earns you more and more and more visibility. So every month you pay the same, whether it's a guy's paycheck or a vendor's fee, but every month you get more result on the other end of that. And the results, they start with rankings, which turn into traffic, which turn into leads, which turn into sales and customer pay ROs or warranty work. So you have to follow that train down, but it starts with content, and really the goal here is gain market share without continuing to increase your budget to battle against everybody else that's paying.
Because the manufacturers are concentrating on direct sales to the public. They're not concentrating on used cars. They're not concentrating on service. They're not hiring quality employees, especially techs.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. Obviously, we're fighting, alongside our dealers tooth and nail to make sure that OEMs do not succeed in taking away new car business from our dealers. But at the end of the day, let's just say worst case scenario, they were somehow successful with this, well, they still aren't going to sell the used cars, and they still aren't going to perform the service themselves direct to consumer. At the end of the day, our dealers collectively are going to still sell used cars. We're still going to service vehicles, and I'm sure we're going to succeed in being able to sell new cars. But two of those things we can directly control, because there's no way for the OEM to really come into that picture in full. And so the play right now, especially when new cars are largely selling themselves, is shore up your market share on used and on service, and do it organically where you can own that result.
Because regardless of the outcome of the manufacturers trying to sell direct to the public, that's a 10-year program, and it won't ever be comprehensive.
Right.
I think it'll fail miserably, by the way. But still in all, dealers have got to stay in the game. You've got to stay visible, because if the chip shortage ever ends, which we predict it will, and inventory starts flowing readily, the supply chain is open, you're going to have cars again. And when you've got cars in there, and you've got they're going to put rebates on them again. Believe me.
Right. Flip to a volume model again.
Exactly. When we go to the volume model, you got to be the one that they know and recognize and trust.
But what we're trying to impress on people, and it's hard because of the way the car dealer market is structured, right? What does everyone care about? What's the statement say at the end of the month? And if it looks bad, I might not even have a job here next month. But we have to start being able to think past the end of this month. So it's easy to justify spending thousands of dollars in pay-per-click on my current inventory, but instead of spending $500 trying to get a lead on this one used Ford, what if I spent that $500 to write a used Ford page that would let me list all my used Ford inventory on there, and also have actual content so that I could rank on that page organically? With someone typed used Fords near me, they could see that page, see all my used Ford inventory over and over, and not have to continually spend that same money every month to try to get those leads.
And not necessarily a Ford dealer. What if you're a Chevy dealer and you've got a page that says used Ford inventory?
And that's a great way to do it too. As long as you can carry those models, you need to look at what you usually carry. The reason that why I use used Fords, I have a lot of Ford dealers that are Think Better clients for us, and Wiki, does a lot of great Ford work.
You've got a lot of Ford dealer clients. I noticed that.
We do. We write a lot of really good content, and once somebody in a 20 group has amazing success, they go there, and then their service guy also happens to be in service 20 group, and if you notice about Wikimotive, we don't spend a ton of money on advertising. We're not running pay-per-click. We're not doing those things. We're a word-of-mouth company.
No, you're word of mouth, and there's some dealers right now that are watching this broadcast that this is the first time they ever heard about you.
We tend to fire more clients than would ever fire us, just because if you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do, or we really are a different. I know every marketing company thinks they're different, but the proof is kind of in the pudding for us, right? We talked about it before. We're not in any OEM programs. The freedom that gives us to work with our dealers, to not have someone who's watching our stuff. April's exactly right. If you can build your foundation early, then you can build the rest of your house on that. Especially with when the market is crazy.
April is the market director for 13 of the Horn Automotive Group. 13 locations. Yeah, she's a big deal. She's a friend of mine. She's a big deal.
I was a marketing director before. That's a very, very difficult job. Our heart goes out to you. I'm kind of dual rolled. I work at Wikimotive, and I work at another one with Tim and another one of his companies called Think Better, where that's what I do is I help marketing people go in and evaluate all their marketing efforts and see if they work. I sit in on meetings. You get to have a technical SEO expert, an analytics expert, a pay-per-click expert sit in all your meetings and beat up all your vendors, that kind of thing. We're really, we've always been about vendor accountability, including our own vendor accountability. And we really think, especially these days, it's really important. The last 2 years, everyone's had all these great excuses about why things don't work. It's because of inventory, it's this, it's that. And grosses were so high that a lot of people didn't care. My paycheck has gone up, not down. Well, now we're at the point where the people who didn't sow their, plant their fields are not going to be able to sow the fruit soon. So we don't have a lot of time left, I think, before this turns. I just watched something about the used car bubble on YouTube that put the fear of God in me. I'll send you later, Jim. That was a very well-sourced article about subprime loans and all kinds of other stuff that's coming.
Oh, credit's gotten terrible.
It has.
I wonder how the manufacturers intend to work these credit customers with this direct sales. I mean, dealers have to spend a lot of time working distressed credit people. We have to work the lenders. We have to work the customers. I wonder how the lenders are.
Well, they're trying to apply the Tesla model. It's like, what if the Marriott came in and said, from now on, we're going to be the Four Seasons? Well, are you? Because the Four Seasons has invested a lot of money and has a very different model. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, obviously I love my regular.
Oh, I love your analogies. What if Marriott said they were the Four Seasons? Yeah.
Right. It doesn't make it so, right? There's a lot of
hey, folks, remember, Noah built the ark before it started raining.
Right. Exactly. So now's the time to really make sure, if you're watching this after you're done, get off, go look at your webpage and go, what do I have for used car pages? What do my server pages look like?
Dealers, pay attention. Go to your website right now. What do you have?
Right.
You're sitting there fat, dumb, and happy. You're puffing on a cigar, got your feet on the desk. Put your feet down. Go on your website. Take a look at what you actually do have. Are you satisfied with what your vendors are delivering?
Right. Do you know what your vendors are delivering? That's the other
Probably
thing.
Not.
Right. So, that's the other thing that we'll offer. If you're not sure whether your SEO is performing, we offer a free SEO audit service, pitch list.
You do a what?
Yes, sir.
Free SEO audit. And
tell me about the SEO audit. I want to hear about it.
This is not, take your site and run it through a tool and then show you a report afterward. This is actually spending time going through a dealer's website. All you got to do is text me. I'll hook you up with it. We'll do
Wait. Dealers, wake up. Pay attention. They're magic.
you got it right there.
Now that's service.
Nice. So you text me. I'll hook you up with it. And what we do is just go through your actual website. I was talking before about looking at your service page, for example. Is that content unique to your site? How do you know? I can talk about the tips and tricks here, but we're going to get really into kind of the geeky side of this. And you'd probably rather me just do the work for you and then show you what I found.
Yeah, we don't need any geeky stuff. I mean, but
it doesn't take a long time.
Look, did you see what I did there?
I think that the last time I was on the call here, you were like, Zach, you're a geek, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But no, so I take time, go through your website, find out, is your content unique or not? Is it actually written for your consumers or not? And then I can demystify this rank over distance thing. It's not just a fluffy concept where it's like, well, if you Google yourself at your house and you Google yourself in your showroom, you get these results. I can actually give you a map.
So local SEO in the trash. I mean, everybody's yelling about local SEO, and you're saying, get out of here.
Yeah, it's too oversimplified is the problem. Everyone's just thinking about local SEO, local SEO. They're so focused on their Google listings and whether you show up in the map pack. And
is there a way to adjust the range of SEO?
Yeah. So there are a number of techniques to increase the range, the distance in which
to limit the range.
There is not a hard limit. It's just exponentially harder, and you need to have exponentially more content on your website. Quality content, landing pages, blog articles, navigation.
And you do that.
And we do that for our dealers. We can also show you how to do it. It's Angus was talking about one of the tips, which is
that'll put you out of work. I mean, you could actually teach the dealers how to do it themselves. Quit it.
Imagine that. Teach a man to fish. Where it's we're not shy about showing people how to do the work. It's a lot of work, and it's very difficult to repeat, especially for a single store, because you need 5 different disciplines. You need people experts in local SEO and content SEO, in publishing and editing, for writing for the web. You need to have a lot of disciplines in one place. So scaling that can be difficult for some smaller groups and for single point stores. That's where a vendor like us comes in. But either way, we'll show you how to do it, and we'll show you where the deficiencies are through an actual.
Okay, well, how does this free SEO? Okay, is this a pitch? I mean, you're gonna corner them and put a light in their eyes and not. What are you gonna do?
A lot of dealers, when we get on, so we get on a Zoom call, and we can do it in 20 minutes if you only have 20 minutes, at lunch to take a look at it.
Is this a sales pitch?
It's not a sales pitch unless you ask what we wanted, what we would do for you.
You'd love to sell you something, but yeah.
I'd love to sell you something, but at the end of the day, it's legitimately rewarding to be able to show a dealer this isn't what you think it is, and to be able to open eyes. And at the end of the day, either you're going to be able to do it better yourself.
And you might tell them their SEO provider's doing a good job. You might say,
that does happen from time to time. We won't knock good work just to make ourselves look good. There's no point in doing that.
Exactly.
Good work is good work. And if we see great quality blogs, if we see unique content, it's well written for consumers, I'll tell you all about it. And there's always somewhere that we can identify, hey, here's a hole over here that you might want to fill, or here's another area. Maybe you've got good new car SEO, but you don't have anything going on used and service. That's really common these days. When we do see something good, it's only in one area. The other thing that we'll do is we'll help dealers figure out, are you wasting a bunch of SEM dollars, a bunch of the paid search dollars at the same time?
Oh, the pay-per-click?
Yeah, pay-per-click. So what we can do is we can look at dealers. If they want to, they can share their SEM reporting with me. And I'll also go through that, and I'll look for, we already did the SEO audit, so we know where you rank and where you don't and for what keywords. Well, if you're bidding on those same keywords, like if you already rank for Ford dealer near me out to a good distance, but you're bidding on it for $1,000 a month, you're wasting that $1,000 a month because you're showing up twice and you don't get that click twice from that consumer. So the SEO audit helps you understand where don't you show up and where is your area of opportunity to grow your market.
Okay, so you're going to look at things where pay-per-click would be ineffectual because you're already covering that with organic.
Yep. Or maybe it's your own brand name, branded search. And we can talk, if anyone wants to do the audit and meet with me about this, we can get deeper in the weeds on it. But branded search, often an area of waste, because when someone searches that, really they just needed to get to the service scheduler or find your phone number. You need to pay thousands of dollars to show up for it. But ultimately, the audit's all about not a pitch, but about showing you where is your area to get more market share where you don't have it currently. And that's what dealers need to be doing right now, is seeing where they're missing a slice of the pie that they could be picking up.
Yeah, I was looking at one of my competitors recently in the F&I venue, and some of their SEO was services similar to Jim Ziegler, services similar to Grant Cardone, similar to
Not uncommon.
Yeah, no, not uncommon.
To piggyback on what Zach said too, here's another free little tip for the viewers. One of the things you can ask your pay-per-click providers to do is to link your ads account to your Search Console account, and then they can run what's called the paid and organic report in Google Ads, and that will show you, we're talking Google specifically, that will show you all the overlap you have. Here's where you showed up organically and also paid for ads. So that's a great report to ask them to send you every month, even before the meeting, so you can get all fired up about it.
Okay. Slow down. Say that again.
Sure. So
I just caught that at the end, and it clicked with me.
They need to connect. You should ask your pay-per-click vendor to connect their Google Ads account, or hopefully your Google Ads account that they're using, to Search Console. So that way, then Google will automatically populate what's called the paid and organic report that's built into Google Ads.
Okay, Google Ads has a paid and organic. Okay,
but you have to have Search Console connected, which is, if you need help with this, obviously contact Zach or myself, and we can walk you through this. But
most dealers don't even have Search Console, so we got to start there.
Right.
What?
We've met dealers, not this year, but last year, who didn't have Google Analytics. It's some places, you got to crawl, walk, run, and
there are dealers out there with rotary dial cell phones.
Well, I mean, some places can still sell cars without knowing, without knowing that kind of stuff. They just can't sell as many cars. That's the other thing too. We see that a lot with dealers. Well, I'm doing really well, but are you doing as well as you could? Well, I'm getting a lot of organic traffic. Sure, you might be, but are you getting all the organic traffic you could? You need to understand how big that pie is, and then take as big a slice you can.
Yeah,
Zach.
Yeah, no, I just one of my other points that I was going to make. This is a bit round in circles, but continuing on kind of the good points and stacking SEO and SEM. It's not that SEM and paid search is a bad thing. It's that you need to balance it. So to April's comment, and I'll just recap it for those who watch afterward. Build your foundation now, and down the road you'll see much better ROI on all your ad spend. That is correct. And so the interesting thing about that, we're talking about content for SEO and content to get you to rank further from your store. 100%, that should be your primary objective, because you can get more ROI on that static amount of spend. To her point, the other benefit to having that great quality content is a better user experience. Someone reaches your website from any ad medium, paid search, email campaigns, direct because they already knew about you, straight from the OEM website, wherever they're coming from. If you've written better quality content on your navigational pages, you're providing a better user experience. You're increasing the rate at which you can convert people to leads and service appointments. And then furthermore, the paid search side of this, you can use a landing page you created to benefit your organic search, a high quality, well-written landing page, which, by the way, the minimum should really be about 1,000 words of content on these pages if you want them to be effective.
At least 1,000.
And so challenging, right? You can also use those as landing locations for your paid search campaigns, as long as the topic is similar. So you do a used cars landing page. Well, the idea there is to tell Google, hey, we should show up for used cars, and we should show up over more distance so we can get that slice of the pie organically. Well, if you're doing a used car paid search campaign that isn't vehicle, isn't VDP specific, you can also land people on that landing page where they're going to have a higher quality experience. And the result is Google gives you a better quality score, which gives you better ad efficiency.
And Google is the benchmark. I mean, we're not talking about what's the other one?
Bing, Yahoo.
Bing, Yahoo. I mean, come on. It looks like Angus jumped out on us for a second there.
Hopefully he'll be back in a minute.
He'll be back. He had a tech issue.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. So many things I'm thinking about. What about Google My Business? I hear so much about GMB. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So GMB or GBP, everyone still calls it Google My Business, which is what
Google
I know.
Places.
Technically, it's Google Business Profile now, but whatever you want to call it, we'll call it GMB. Super important, and that's really the local SEO that we're usually talking about in these kinds of conversations.
And what do you do with that?
So there's a lot of things you can do with it. First of all, you can split it by departments, which most people are getting wise to these days. We're seeing more and more dealers who are on board with this. They've got a main listing, a service listing, a parts listing. Good, you should. Next thing, which most dealers are missing, is proper categorization on each of your listings. So if you have a main listing and a service listing, we'll just focus on the two for a moment to keep this simple. You can have 10 categories on each one. There are hundreds of categories available on Google My Business listings, dozens of them that are automotive related. Now, if your main listing has that you're a Chevy dealer and a used car dealer, and it also has some service related categories, you're sending some mixed signals to Google. Now they don't know, should this one show up for sales or for service? And so you kind of just get a compromise. You get some of both. Well, if you split those out, you put 10 sales categories on your sales listing and 10 service categories on your service listing, both of them show up better in that map pack. So this is where that local SEO component is still very important. You need to have a well-optimized Google My Business listing with good categories, proper information. Did you update your hours for the 4th of July? I hope you did, because did someone show up at your store thinking you were open when you were actually closed for the day? Or did you do extended hours because you were running some kind of a special, sales program that day or whatever?
So you have to be playing with that all the time.
What's that?
You got to be playing with Google My Business all the time. You
have
got
to be in there all the time.
adjusting it and pay attention to it.
It becomes a huge chore for a lot of dealers to constantly be in there paying attention. There's also, we hear it more and more these days. One of my dealers hit me up on the 4th asking about an issue they had with this. Google will sometimes change your information, change your hours, change a phone number, just based on the input of people making suggestions on there. Now, usually you have to accept those and it doesn't change automatically, but it can. The other issue that we see a lot is too many cooks in the kitchen. We've got old vendors, we've got OEMs, we've got this manager and that and this director. We've got the GM, we've got the sales manager, and we've got the marketing director.
Too many people are adjusting it.
And all of them are trying to put in competing information. Plus, there's the old OEM thing, pushing something in there on an automated basis that no one even knows about. So catching all of this and overwriting it to make sure that your information is correct at all times is very challenging and very time consuming.
On my own personal website for my corporation, I just added 30 photos, and all of a sudden I started showing up where I never showed up before.
Yep. Curating photos can absolutely be one of the ranking factors. There are many, many ranking factors. Mm-hmm. So it's actually, let's take a moment to talk about that for everyone watching, because we'll demystify this a little bit. I'm talking about categories, and those are one of the important things to be able to rank. You're talking about photos. It's another important thing to rank. The number one ranking factor, and here's why we talk so much about content and your SEO being too local. The number one ranking factor for GMB in the map pack is your location relative to the person performing a search. If someone is closer to your store, they're usually going to get you in first position. If they are further from your store and they're closer to your competition will be first and you'll be second. And you can't change your location without moving your store. So that number one ranking factor is outside of your control. This is why local SEO and just this myopic focus on your location specific rankings near to your store. This is why this is misguided and overly simplified, is because...
Oh, hey, Brad Deary just jumped in here. This guy's a friend of mine, owns the Deary dealerships out of Iowa. Really great dealer. What is the best thing to rank higher and outrank dealers in other cities? And he's talking about cities that are just outside of his regular market area. If you want to sneak in under the radar screen and steal some business, what do you do?
That is the perfect question, because that's the whole crux of what we're talking about here, right? Picking up market share, eating your competition's lunch, crushing your competition. That's what we're talking about here. So
Brad should call you.
Yeah, Brad, you should call me. My number's at the bottom of the screen. We can do an audit and we can talk about it. But to answer the question directly, you need to put better quality content on your website, and it's not just a matter of rewrite your About Us page or update your Google My Business. You need to write, let's say, so we've got a dealer in Shelbyville, Tennessee, okay? And that's south of Nashville. I'm going to give you...
That's one of the biggest dealers in the country, by the way. I know that dealer you're talking about.
Yeah. So they're in Shelbyville, and north of them is Nashville, and then in between them and Nashville, more or less, is Murfreesboro.
And that is one of the biggest dealers in the country. So yeah,
And
you have a lot to do with that.
Hey, we only rank in this tiny little radius around Shelbyville. We want to rank in Murfreesboro, where currently a dealer would either just shop there or go north to Nashville. We're down south, and we're not the natural direction for people to go. So to Brad, to your point, how do we get that dealer in Shelbyville to rank in Murfreesboro? Well, the answer in their case was write a landing page for Chevy dealer Murfreesboro and explain in normal human terms in this particular case, it was over 2,000 words we wrote on the page, why they would be the correct dealership, the best dealership for a given consumer to drive to buy a Chevy if you're in Murfreesboro and you're shopping for one. And the result of writing that great quality content using People Also Ask, the feature that Angus was talking about, and writing 2,000 words of consumer-centric content on a page centered around a remote city is that you actually get to outrank all the other dealers, except for maybe the one that's located right in that city.
You are explaining this so well for a geek. I mean, you have de-geekified that explanation.
And if anyone calls me and takes advantage of that audit, that's what we do. We kind of try and de-geekify all of what it is that makes you rank or not rank and where you do and you don't. We don't have to talk about bounce rates and pages per session and Google Analytics events. We can just talk simplistically about what lever do you need to pull to be able to show up better in a place that actually matters to your business today. And it's not rocket science. I can certainly show you what you don't have that's stopping you from doing it now. And then we can talk about how either Brad, or a partner like us can help you to show up better in that location so you can pick up market share. So,
yeah, and I know the dealer you're talking about, like I said, one of the biggest dealers in the country, especially number one in their franchise. And I know for a fact you guys had a lot to do with their growth. And so what else do we need to talk about today? I mean, this is Wikimotive. Wikimotive, I'm talking to Angus Fox and Billings. Yeah. So what else do we need to tell the people today?
Just kind of wake up, right? The OEMs telling us what's going to happen. That's where I just had to go. They sent Assassins. I had to OEM Assassins. That's how mad they are. We're talking about stuff. They're telling us what's happening, and it makes sense now to move some money maybe away from the things that would directly benefit them into the things that may directly benefit.
Okay, move money away from things that benefit the manufacturer to things that benefit the dealer, I think.
Yeah, Angus, you're a little in and out there. I think one of the most distilled points that we can try to get across here, and the whole point of the free audit notion is you're often not doing as well as you think you are, and it's not because you are deliberately burying your head in the sand. It's not for lack of trying to measure your position. It's just often for lack of knowing which tool to look at or how to go about evaluating this. It's many of the other vendors that are out there performing these local SEO techniques, coffee shop blogs and things, it's not malicious. And you do sometimes end up with more traffic. It's just, what is that traffic? So what we're trying to do here is just demystify this and help
relevant traffic
that actually converts, that wants to buy our service, right? So all we're trying to do is open everyone's eyes to understand, just because you search, used cars for sale in your showroom and show up doesn't mean you do across town closer to your competitor. And what we're trying to do is just open everyone's eyes to, you need to do more if you want to increase your market share for the potentially worsening market conditions that we're heading into for a little while. And the way that you're gonna insulate yourself from the impact of those market conditions is to be thinking about this right now. Fix the roof while the sun is shining. Don't wait until the storm is here.
Noah built the ark before the rain came.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the great news is, even if we're wrong, it doesn't hurt to grow your used car and service business. So there's really no downside to doing this. If you sell a bunch of more new cars down the road, great. Imagine being able to service all of them too. So it's really a win-win.
The shameless plug here is a 43% pre-COVID, when we were just looking at volume, sales volume as the primary way that we were measuring success with our dealers. Those who came on and changed no other variable other than just doing effective SEO, and we're not the only ones in the universe who can do this, it's just effective SEO, grew their sales volume by 43% in a year on average. That still works. Now it might look a little bit more like a gross model. We might need to make it more about used cars than new cars. It might be more about service than car sales at all. The focus has changed, but the point of being able to grow market share to insulate yourselves, that works in any market condition, no matter what. And what we're trying to do is have dealers be able to buck the market and do better, no matter whether the market is going down or whether it's going up. What most dealers are doing is just riding the tide. Market goes up, they go up. Market goes down, they go down. And the only way to change that is to pay to play. It's to pay third parties or to pay for pay-per-click advertising. You have to jack up your spend to try to show up more somewhere that's far less effective and has diminishing returns. We want to see dealers own that market share at the end of the day.
Fantastic. Angus, what else do we need to tell dealers today that we haven't already covered?
Start holding your vendors accountable. Start holding your OEMs accountable. Accountability is the name of the game. Like, understand.
Hold your vendors accountable. Oh my gosh. There are some vendors out there that are really, really, really fraudulent.
There are. We find them all the time. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to go tell one of my clients, hey, go ask them for 25 grand back or whatever it is, because, we can see that they're sending bot traffic, or, we just had
they're sending bot traffic.
Well,
explain that.
We had a interesting thing happen recently at Think Better, where it looks like someone was paying someone to do matched emails. We'll give you 30 sales a month kind of thing. And every week we saw a large increase of traffic that came to the website that all looked very like good traffic, not a lot of engagement, but it looked like good traffic. And then one week they screwed up and they forgot to change their variable names. And so all of a sudden, all their traffic looked like it was terrible in analytics, and you could actually see that kind of stuff. There, a lot of the internet, 60% of the internet traffic actually is bots by latest estimates, and not all of them are malicious. Some of them are, there's some companies. There's a very good company that started with bot traffic, basically, in this industry, scraping dealers' pages to make inventory, and now they have the best trade tool around, in my opinion. There's some good uses for that too, but there's some a lot of vendors, particularly vendors who get paid on margin, for example, have a lot of incentive not to watch what your spend is and that kind of thing. So, make sure you own all your accounts. If you're going to start a new pay-per-click vendor, create your own Google Ads account and give them permission to that. So if you decide you don't like them down the road, you still have access to all that data. Make sure you own your Google Analytics accounts. Don't let your OEM own your URL. We just had one of the OEMs the other day tell us they wanted a dealer to send over their primary URL. I don't think so. If you don't own it, then what if they decide tomorrow we're going to redirect that we're going to redirect all dealer traffic now that we're selling online to Ford.com or whatever it's going to be.
Holy cow! I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, I mean,
the manufacturer could just basically hijack your traffic.
Right, or listen into it. That's the other thing too. We highly recommend everyone does a vendor tag audit, because it's very easy to forget, oh, I signed up for Edmunds SMS 10 years ago and they're still able to access, every bit of traffic on my website or whoever. That's just the first one that came to mind for no reason. But, you need to know who has access to your data, because some people will sell it. I remember back in the day, when we were presenting a digital dealer, we had terms of services up, and it literally says right in there, we can sell this data to third parties. I used to work at with another company that's what they did. They would literally go buy third-party traffic from a tool that was on dealer websites and then retarget traffic from the dealerships next door. You have to know who you're in bed with, because A, they have access to your customer data, and your customers are your most valuable resource. And B, if they have access to your website, they can see what else is happening pretty much across the board. If you're not, careful and you don't know who's running JavaScript on your website.
I tell dealers all the time, Google some of your VIN numbers.
Yes, and see where
put your VIN numbers in Google and see where your cars are listed, and they're being used to bait and switch.
Yeah, or that's even a good thing to do to see, like, when you know you have a new car, when it first hits your DMS, maybe Google that VIN every day and see, when does it show up on my third-party sites? When does it show up on my website? When does Google know where that VIN is? Because it's possible you're sending traffic and Google will never know about that VIN. So that third party, unless that someone is there in a different way, there's a lot of third-party sites who don't actually index the VDP portion of their pages. They only index SRP portions. You might also find, hey, it turns out we're not sending new car traffic here, or we're not sending used car inventory here. So I completely agree with that. Google
and you audit all of that. I mean, you look at all of that with the audit.
It depends on what it is. That's more of a think better audit kind of thing. We have a few different suites of products and that kind of thing, but we also can do a free think better audit, that kind of thing, depending on what you have. We work with a lot of different manufacturers. We work with a lot of different CRMs. A lot of vendors know who we are. I get groans every time I log into Zoom meetings. It's funny when they forget to mute. But, I'm here for one thing and one thing only. I'm here to make sure that the dealers are getting exactly what they're paying for. And we'll work with them. If you really like your pay-per-click vendor and they're not performing, we can work with you to help maximize performance. But really, we really want dealers to focus on SEO, on the things you own. Own that, not just own the content, but own that page for a long time. Don't just own a second in time. Don't just own that one ad. You need to own the front page of Google all the time. And the way you do that is by, like Zach talked about, good quality content consistently. And now try to shift your focus to the things that we know are going to continue to make us money no matter what our manufacturers do, which are going to be used cars and service.
Fantastic. We're talking to the guys from Wikimotive. Well, this is always enlightening. I learn so much every time you guys come on.
Thank you.
I mean, I personally learn. I hope the viewers learn. And like I say, the initial broadcast, we get a certain number of people that watch the broadcast, but the truth of the matter is the replays are going to be in the thousands. You'll be getting calls on this broadcast 3 weeks from now.
Speaking of that, anyone who watches after the fact, the offer doesn't change. Text me whenever, and we'll hook you up with the audit. Just let me know, hey, saw you on Alpha Dawg, want the free audit, we'll hook you up.
Fantastic. Angus?
And if you have any vendor questions, you're not sure your pay-per-click's doing right or whatever, you can call Zach and get my number, or I can give you my number too. 413-210-8110. That's my personal cell phone number. You can please tell me who you are before you call or text me, just so I know.
What is that number again? What is that number again?
Sure, it's 413-210.
Slowly. 413.
210. 8110.
8110. Let me see if I got it right.
And just understand, even
is that it?
Yes, sir. You can text that number, call that
Call
number.
Angus at that number.
Right. I'm here to help you with vendor accountability.
So you got Zach's number scrolling across the bottom. You got Angus's number. We're talking about the SEO experts from Wikimotive. This has been an incredibly enlightening broadcast. Like I say, who is this guy? It's a cowboy. It's a cowboy, right?
Yeah, it's tough right now. To cut through the BS a little bit more, especially when grosses are good, right? Sometimes it's tough to want to pick at your scab and see what's really going on under there. But now's the time to do it, like we talked about. So make sure you guys are setting yourself up. Everybody's setting themselves up for success in the future, because it's not guaranteed. It's going to be rocky, and there's certain things you can do now to shore up your website to make sure that it's going to be found by consumers in the future, no matter what they're looking for.
Listen to this. Hey, Stephanie, how you doing? Stephanie's out. Stephanie is another one of my friends out west. She's in dealerships. We got a lot of people lurking on this broadcast. I mean, this guy here. You talk about supreme lurking.
The SEO animal. There's a reason here in that name for sure.
Okay, great show, guys. Wave goodbye to the audience.
Thanks for having
Bye.
me.